Hey there everyone, welcome to FJX 2000 Productions and another episode of Let's FJ. My name is Hayden, and actually in today's episode I have some really sad news to share, and that is the end of FJ Summit as we know it. The summit directors for the FJ Summit off-road event that happens in Ouray, Colorado every year made the announcement today that FJ Summit would be canceled for forever. It's just over. And I just wanted to talk about that. I have no script for this video. I have no sort of agenda or anything like that. I wanted to talk about that event and just remember it and sort of give my thoughts as to what made that event so special, what made that event so great. I am just so thankful for the directors for putting together such a cool event over the years, because I don't think anything will come close in the future or ever has been quite like what the FJ Summit event was. There was even FJ Summits held in other countries that tried to sort of copy that same sort of vibe that was held here in Colorado at FJ Summit. There was one in Japan I know of, the FJ Summits that they hold over there. They might still, I'm not sure. But FJ Summit was just such a neat experience. So over the years, I am thankful and was lucky enough to attend 6 of them. My first FJ Summit was in 2012, and in the background of this video I'll just have random footage and little video clips playing from the various FJ Summits I was able to attend. You'll see some of the trails I was able to run those various years. You'll see up in the corner, it'll say what year of FJ Summit that was. But my first year of attending was actually back in 2012, and I had gotten my FJ in 2011 and was really new to the whole FJ scene, but had heard legend of this awesome event that happened in Colorado. And being pretty young at the time, I was only like 16 or 17, somewhere in there, I looked up where the event was. Where is this FJ Summit? And realized it was happening just only a couple hours away from where I lived, which was incredible to me. So I just happened to show up or find out like the day before registration opened up. I signed up, and that year I could only attend FJ Summit on the Saturday of FJ Summit. Usually it always started on Wednesday of a week in about mid-July, and it would go until that weekend. The last day would be Sunday technically. But Wednesday was usually just like the show up, sort of get your registration and everything taken care of, and trails actually started on Thursdays generally. And I wasn't able to attend until Saturday, and my parents, I had my mom and dad, or maybe just my dad, I can't remember, they tagged along, and it was really fun. We showed up and really had no idea what to expect, but was just blown away by just the amount of people that were there. We were running a trail on Black Bear Pass and got to meet Ray from purefjcruiser.com, and he was just such an awesome guy. And I met multiple people from the forums that I was already kind of participating on. The FJ Cruiser forums were really swinging back in the day, and it was just overall such a cool event to be a part of, and I had to come back. So once again, I signed up for 2013, and that year I was able to be there the whole time. I showed up on Wednesday. I ran a trail with a random guy I met who ended up being really awesome and is a friend now. We ran on Wednesday on just our own little trail run, and then on Thursday, Friday, Saturday we ran trails, and I even led one of the trails myself. One or two of the trails. I think I led one of the trails. And it was just so cool, because not only were you able to meet all these fellow FJers, and you could talk about FJs, you could look at each other's rigs, you could give advice, you could just talk about your experiences or mods, whatever, but the event itself, being stationed out of Ouray, was so cool. They had all these vendors that would come in from all across the country. They would be displaying their products on their rigs, and early on it was always FJs. They were of course always showing FJs, and as the years went on, and especially after the FJ was discontinued, they were often showing their new products for stuff like Forerunners and Tacomas, which was awesome. Even though it was called FJ Summit, it was always intended for like Toyota and Lexus vehicles. Even in later years, people with like like their Lexus GXs were showing up, and there was always people showing up with their 4Runners and Tacomas, and it was always a great time. But there was always mostly FJs, and that's, this channel's bread and butter. That's what I love personally. So it was cool if every now and again you had a trail run where everyone that signed up just happened to have FJs. So you had like an FJ exclusive trail run. Those were always cool. But the vendors, every night they would have all the vendors out there, and they were showing off their products. You could see things, you could ask them questions, and if you bought stuff, usually at the FJ Summit, it was discounted, which was always a bonus. And then of course it all kind of culminated. They had these dinners every night, or not almost every night, and then one of the nights besides the dinners that they had coordinated that were included in your registration, in your ticket price, they had a night where they encouraged everyone to go out and support the town, go to restaurants, eat at the different places in town, which was so cool because there's really good restaurants there. Super awesome stuff. I highly recommend, if you ever get to Ouray, if you've never been there, that you should totally hit it up, try the restaurants. It's an incredible place, beautiful scenery. You're nestled right there in the mountains. It's just, everything about it is so incredible. And then it all culminated at the end of the week on Saturday night. They had the big raffle, the legendary Toyota FJ Summit raffle. And there's all these items that different companies had pitched in that you could buy raffle tickets for, and if you're lucky, you could win stuff. And I actually got to win a bag of recovery gear that still is in my FJ till this day, and that was really awesome. But the big ticket item at the end of the night, there was like bumpers, suspension, wheels, tires, recovery gear, all sorts of stuff given away, winches, just everything you could imagine, lights. But the big ticket item at the end of the night was a supercharger. And of course, that was always the one that everyone would wait for. Everyone would hold their breath. And there was years where I was only a couple numbers off on my raffle ticket. So close, like within 5 of being the ticket picked, which was so crazy. It would have been awesome to get a supercharger. But it was just incredible, the amount of work that they put into organizing that event in Ouray. And just having so many people come together, so many awesome trail runs. The trail leaders were incredible on the trails that I got to participate in. And then near the end, I was mostly participating as a trail leader. I was leading trails and getting to meet people and show them this area of the country that they had never been to or that they'd always wanted to go to. It was such a cool event. And I just will really miss the camaraderie and the memories that event was able to bring everyone that got to attend. I especially just loved being able to talk to people that I had met online, because a lot of these FJ folks I meet on the FJ Cruiser forums or on Facebook, and to actually get to put a face with the forum name was always so cool. And there's also groups I was in, like on Facebook, there's the Colorado FJ Cruisers. They would host one of the nights where they had their own little barbecue going on, the Colorado FJ Cruiser barbecue at one of the parks. And that was cool to meet the fellow Colorado FJ Cruisers, since that's where I was from. And most of the Colorado FJ guys are up in the Denver area, and I'm just down in the southwest corner of the state. So it was an opportunity to finally get to meet up with them and talk about FJ stuff and just talk about life, get to know each other. And I'm just really going to miss that aspect of the FJ Summit. Of course, and I 100% guarantee, like by tonight or tomorrow, there's going to be people who are going to be kind of scheduling their own unofficial FJ Summits. Like, hey, let's see how many people we can get and just go on our own trail runs and have our own unofficial FJ Summits, because that's always been a thing. There's always people who kind of do runs like that throughout the summer on the weeks that aren't the actual FJ Summit weeks. But nothing, even if someone were to coordinate something even slightly remotely like FJ Summit, nothing will quite ever be to the level of FJ Summit. So I just have to give huge props to the directors of FJ Summit. They directed 13 FJ Summit events over the years. I think the first one was in 2006, and it was basically just a bunch of guys with their brand new FJs that they had just bought because they first came out in 2006. It was just a bunch of them getting them together, going out there on the trails and seeing what they could do, and realizing after scraping a bunch on certain trails, oh, we should probably modify these. And then by 2007, you had a whole slew of people with different modifications, maybe some ARB bumpers and Old Man Emu lift kits, and maybe some other kinds kinds of modifications, custom stuff. But then as the years went on, it just grew bigger and bigger. More and more vendors would show up and were supporting the event. More and more people would attend, to the point that by the later years, they had to cap it at a certain level. They could only let in a certain number of participants, a certain number of vehicles, because otherwise they just didn't have enough trail permits to let that many people invade the town, and specifically invade the trails on the mountains. Even as it was, they would limit the trail runs to 10 people per trail run. And even then, sometimes some people would sneak in, so you'd get trail runs with maybe 12 or up to 15 people. And that was always a no-no, but it happened. And it was just such a cool time. It was such a cool event. I loved it. I loved getting to be there. Like I said, I was able to attend 6 of them, first in 2012, then in 2013. Then I went on my mission, so I was gone for 2 years. But then I came back and was able to do 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. And so all in all, 6 summits. And then in 2020, of course, we got, what did we get? We all know. So the event was canceled in 2020, but then it was also canceled in 2021 just because things were still happening in the world and they weren't 100% sure if they could pull it off with it being safe for everyone. So that was understandable. But I think just because on the website, in their official announcement, I'll leave a link in the description below, fjsummit.org. They have an official statement where they say there was no single reason why we've decided to discontinue the FJ Summit, but please understand that we do not arrive at this decision lightly. And I imagine if they were in the swing of things, they had it going every year, it was a lot easier to reestablish it for the following year. Huge amount of work, I can't even imagine, but still I feel like that would have made it a little easier having it happen on a regular basis. But having that break, that year-long, those 2 years of break, probably just made it really hard to get things going again. And they have families, they have things that they want to do. All these summers, for the past however many years, they've been having to organize this. So I think they've deserved the break. They established such a legacy. And probably the most impressive thing about FJ Summit was it wasn't just an event for us FJers that are coming in there and driving around the mountains with our little cars, but they would give back to Ouray, Colorado, to the community. They would donate to the different organizations, such as the police, the fire, EMT, the Ouray Mountain Rescue, just the different local communities. And they even established a scholarship fund that would support 2 high school seniors every year, providing them funds for their college. And all in all, they estimated that they raised $180,000 to give back to this community through the FJ Summit, since it was a non-profit sort of event. And that is just so cool that they thought about that they were giving back to the community in that way, because we kind of invade the town, and I'm sure it's sort of an inconvenience for that weekend that we're there. But all in all, we got to give back in some small way, and I just really appreciate that they were willing to do that, and that was the case, that happened. But either way, those are just some of my thoughts about FJ Summit. I just absolutely love that event. I just love that I was able to be a part of it, that it happened in general. And like I said, I don't think anything will ever come close to being quite as amazing as that. There are other FJ events. There's some that happen, or just Toyota off-road events in general. There's one that happens in Texas. There's the, was it the All-Star or Lone Star Roundup, something like that. And then there's some that happen up in kind of the Denver area, northern Colorado. And I'm sure there's other things that happen in California, other states, just whatever. But nothing will be quite as special in my mind as FJ Summit, just because it's the only real event besides Cruise Moab that I was able to attend. And Cruise Moab is even more like Land Cruiser based. So just an FJ Cruiser centered off-road event was just such a cool thing to be a part of. And ultimately, if I was in a different situation in life, if I wasn't in dental school or something, I would totally be down for trying to organize maybe like a little mini FJX 2000 summit. I feel like that would be cool to bring together fellow FJers, but also fellow people from this channel who subscribe and love FJs and just want to get out there and sort of want a guide in a way to like, because I know those trails. I've been out there plenty, and so I would love to share that with you all. But hopefully this video, just the little video clips you're able to see, give you an idea for just how incredible this scenery is and how fun it is to be out there with these FJs, whether it's stock or whether you're modified. It's such a great time. Like I love to take care of my FJ. It's valuable. FJs nowadays are incredibly valuable, and Moab is fun, but it's also somewhat stressful because those trails are a little more difficult and there's always a little more risk of big danger, body damage, stuff like that. But there in Colorado, in the mountains around Ouray and Telluride, Silverton, Lake City, you have these trails that, yeah, they pose some degree of challenge, and there's certain trails that are more difficult than others, like Poughkeepsie Gulch or Black Bear Pass, things that are definitely intimidating. None of them really, in my mind, are anywhere as scary or to the level of somewhere like Moab, where you really have to worry about body damage. Out there, like, yeah, you have to make sure you don't drive off the trail, drive off the mountain, which has happened from time to time. But you can just really enjoy the scenery and just be there in the moment, seeing everything around you. There's really few other places in Colorado or in the United States in general that are quite as special as the San Juan Mountains just down there in that area. I love it. And you guys know me, I worked on the railroad in Durango that went from Durango to Silverton. So I got to even ride a train through the mountains. And so just this area of the world holds such a near and dear place to my heart. And being able to not only enjoy it from a history perspective, like the railroad and ghost town perspective, because all around in these mountains you're finding mines that you can explore, not really go inside, but like you can see the old mine ruins of old buildings that used to exist. And then you have like the railroad there in Silverton. It's such a neat, fun little town. You feel like you're just stepping back in time when you're there in Ouray and you're walking down Main Street. It's such a cool aesthetic that town has built up around it. And then you get to go out in the mountains and just take in nature and beauty. I know for some people like me, that whole area of the world is just kind of their happy place. And for someone in particular, they were like, oh yeah, sometimes at least once a summit, they would go up to Yankee Boy Basin and just kind of spend some time up there by themselves, just enjoy the quiet. And that was their tranquil, happy place, just a place where they could escape from their thoughts and enjoy Mother Nature. But hopefully you were at some point able to attend FJ Summit. But if you never got that opportunity, I highly recommend you go to Ouray, Colorado. I highly recommend you go on some of these trails. If you need recommendations for trails, feel free to comment down below, ask me like what do you think, and I'm sure the fjsummit.org website will still be there, and they have the trails listed up on there too, and they have sort of their rankings so you can get an idea of what maybe you're comfortable with, what trails you want to go on. But I've also, you see these videos, you can kind of get an idea of what those trails are like. None of them are too crazy or too scary. Like there's obstacles like on Poughkeepsie, the wall, that can be a bit intimidating, so maybe don't do that one alone, and definitely don't be alone with like a stock FJ trying to do that. That might be a bit tricky, especially if weather's bad. But there's plenty of trails to explore, plenty of things to see. It's such a beautiful experience getting to be out there, and such a cool thing to use our FJs for what they were built for. But I won't talk your guys' ears off much longer. If you enjoyed the video, of course, as I always say, like and subscribe. I always appreciate that. And hopefully this just kind of shows my appreciation for FJ Summit in general. I absolutely love that event. I wish it wasn't ending, but I totally understand where the coordinators for that event are coming from. But anyways, thank you all for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the little videos playing in the background. Hopefully you enjoyed my thoughts on FJ Summit, and hopefully you get to experience that for yourself someday. Thank you, and until next time, take care.